Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a book that I actually read 2 months ago now, maybe 1 month ago. Time is going by super fast, so I am not keeping track very well about when I read things, etc. But I think I read this about 2 months ago, but I just haven't really known how to talk about it until now. I've read so many reviews about this book. I've watched so many videos just to figure out my own opinion and like why I didn't like this book. And yeah, I'm getting that out there right now. I did not like this book. And it is a huge shock to me because it has everything in it that I would love in a horror book. And I did not like this book. And you can already tell by the title, but we are going to be talking about How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So right off the bat, gave this a 2-star. We're just gonna get that out there. I gave this a 2-star. I've been seeing a lot of either super positive reviews or super negative reviews. And it's so interesting the different reasons why people like it and why people don't like it, because a lot of times they're the same reason. So it's definitely, this book seems to have divided people on what they actually like in horror. So it's very, very interesting. And a lot of people can't 100% pinpoint why they don't really like it or why they do 100% love it. And I find that really, really interesting. Normally when I read a book, it is very obvious, like, the reasons why I don't like it. This just did not vibe with me for some reason. So if you don't know anything about this book, this is written by Grady Hendrix. He is a horror writer. He does kind of, not gimmicky, I think some of his books are a little gimmicky, but he does like a mix of horror comedy, and it just depends on which book it is, how comedy he goes. Some books are more campy, some books are more on the more serious side, trying to say something. And to me, I feel like I don't like his more campy books. So as background about my Grady Hendrix ratings, this is a 2-star. Final Girl Support Group, which a lot of people didn't like, I gave it 5-star. I love that one, easily my favorite of his books. I DNF'd Horror Store, and I gave the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying, oh my gosh, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That one's a hard one to say. Gave that one a 4-star, and I really, really enjoyed that one. So I'm kind of like in the middle between them, and then I own My Best Friend's Exorcism, but I have not read it because there is an animal cruelty scene in there that I just like can't bring myself to read the book, but I'm still holding on to it just in case I decide to read it suddenly. Yeah, so that's kind of where I am with the Grady Hendrix novels, and I had a discussion with a couple people about the books specifically, and they did say like the ones that I'm not liking, Horror Store and How to Sell a Haunted House, do seem to be more, to me, on the more gimmicky side, personally. Like, they're more reliant on some campy things happening in the books. While I liked Final Girl Support Group because it had this, like, I'm obsessed, I love slashers. I absolutely love them. And it felt almost like a parody, but not a parody on slashers, and it walks you through slashers, and I loved it. I loved the dialogue. I loved what was happening in the book. Some of it was so like, oh my god, that's everything you would see in a slasher. So to me, loved that. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, I loved it because it was, again, almost a parody on vampire movies and kind of making fun of like vampire culture where people are obsessed with vampires and etc. And it's like, this is a bad vampire. Like, this is what it would probably actually be like to be talking to a vampire. So it kind of makes fun of Twilight a little bit. It makes fun of all of like the pop culture vampire stuff and tries to take you back to more of like a Dracula stance on it, but still in like a, I feel like parody is not the right word. So I don't know. That's why I kind of liked those two, because it felt like they were taking something very popular in horror culture and like doing something with it that's different. These, because there's no like backbone to them, like Horror Store is literally taking place in an IKEA, and it's murdering and horror stuff in an IKEA, and I just did not like it. I did not. That was a DNF. And then this one is like puppets and family drama, and I thought the puppets was gonna be good. I knew the family drama was gonna be hit or miss with me, but it just didn't work. It didn't work. So now that I'm talking through it, maybe, yeah, that's what I need from Grady Hendrix, is like him using a very popular classic horror trope and then turning it into like his own thing. So that's kind of maybe what I look for in Grady Hendrix, but a lot of other people like this one and like Horror Store, but were iffy on the other two. So it kind of just depends on who you talk to. But anyway, getting back onto topic, I feel like there's just so much to talk about with him because he has so many books. But this one specifically is following our main character, Louise, and she gets a call from her brother, who she's not on good terms with, that her parents have died days ago, already not starting off on a good foot. And she has to go to like her hometown, and she has to figure out what's going on with her parents' estate. And her parents, their house is weird. Their house is filled with puppets. Her parents were puppeteers. And obviously this sets up a very eerie atmosphere because they are stuck in this house, cleaning it and trying to figure out what to do with all the crap that's in it. And neither one of them have like good experiences with these puppets. So they're both like freaked out from the get-go. And it definitely talks about horror and supernatural stuff pretty quickly in the book, so it gets you in there pretty fast. One of the major plot lines of this is Louise versus Mark. So it's the sibling rivalry thing where both of them have obviously wanted their parents' attention and they feel like the other is more loved by the parents, and it's created this rift between the two of them, and they're totally different people, opposite people. You could not find two more different people except for their stubbornness. They're both very stubborn. And it focuses a lot on that sibling dynamic to the point where it is just so obnoxious. And that is definitely one huge critique that I've seen a lot of people talk about, including people who like it. It's too extreme. It's just like, they're unbearable. So he just takes it to like a level that it doesn't need to be taken to, and it permeates the whole book. I think there's like a point where they figure things out, but it's pretty much the whole book. And that was by far my least favorite part of the book. And I started skimming sections where they were just chatting with each other because both of them are just horrible people. And then on the other side of this, you have our main kind of supernatural thing that's going on, and that has to do with the puppets. And there's one like main puppet thing. So that's pretty much all I can say. That's not spoilers, but let's get into what I liked about the book. I actually did like the idea behind this book. I think the setup was pretty good. Like, you have kind of a mysterious death with the parents and you're trying to figure out what exactly happened. You have the sibling dynamic, which I think would have been fine if it had been toned down. Like, Mark is just such an unbearable character that he makes it difficult to read. So I feel like if he had been toned down and Louise had been toned down a little bit, and just the sibling kind of thing, just a little bit. Like, your parents just died. I feel like most people, even if they don't like each other, would at least somewhat come together. I mean, maybe not, but it needed to be toned down. It needed to be toned down a little bit. This book started feeling like literary fiction more than it was feeling like horror. I also liked the rest of the family dynamic because she's going back to her hometown. There's a lot of family that she has to interact with. I did like that. I felt like it brought more of a semblance to reality to like the family dynamic because they were dealing with the brother at the same time, and the brother was much more calm around the rest of the family and like dealt with them better than he dealt with his own sister. So I felt like that brought some more reality to the relationships. I also liked the kind of almost locked room feeling of it, because when they're just stuck there. Like, they can't do anything until they clean this house out. So they're kind of stuck in this awful situation. There's no way out. It definitely creates a good circumstance where it's like they can't just like burn the house down. That's not how that works. They can't just leave it empty. They're going to be paying property taxes and all this stuff on it. Like, they can't afford to do that. So it creates this situation that they like are forced to deal with this thing that is happening on hand. I also liked the beginning eerie feeling. I felt like it did a really, really good job of making you very uncomfortable at the beginning. I definitely think that went away as the book progressed, but when you didn't know what was going on, it was legitimately really creepy. And I was sitting there going, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And I would say I like the twist ending, but because I didn't like so much leading up to the ending, I have a hard time liking it. I think if the book had been done differently and I liked the rest of the book, then I would have loved the ending. And I do think the ending there was a very beautiful moment at the end that just wrapped up the book perfectly, and actually is what brought it up to a 2-star, because it was kind of like a 1.5. And then the way it ended, I was like, okay, yeah. But it's more like, the way it ended was more literary fiction than horror-esque. So it's just weird. It's a weird book. And I feel like that's why it's thrown off a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know where exactly they stand with the content in this book. Things that I did not like. I felt like this book was very slow, very slow at the beginning and getting into like the horror and stuff. The creepy feelings were great, but it was too far in between about what was going on. I also felt like the horror was way too much in your face. Once horror gets like in your face, I just don't find it that scary anymore, and I don't find it that entertaining. Like, and I never felt like the main characters were really in any kind of danger. Like, I never felt like this was something they couldn't overcome. Like, it just, I don't know, something about a puppet just did not work for this. Like, my nightmares about Slappy from Goosebumps did not translate to this. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe as I got older, I'm just not like afraid of the thing is, I am terrified of dolls. I don't have any dolls in my house. They freak me out. So I was expecting to be horrified by this, but the way that he wrote the puppet is just not scary. He's more annoying than anything else, and just frustrating, like so frustrating. And then obviously I already talked about the sibling dynamic. I hated it. I don't need to bring it up anymore. I hated it so much. It was just so bad. It permeated, it took over the book. I mean, that's all it is. It completely derailed anything else in the book by having, especially Mark, just be the worst of worst characters. And it's not like one of those unlikable characters that you enjoy reading. It's the unlikable character that you want to die within the first 5 minutes of a movie. It's like when you're watching a horror movie and you're like, oh, that one needs to go. That's what Mark was. That's what Mark was. And anytime Mark was on page, he made his sister also a worse character. Like, the worst of her was brought out, which is what it was supposed to be, but it was not fun to read. And I feel like there was a repetitiveness to this book. I feel like they would confront a problem and then kind of back away from the problem, and then they'd have to confront it again, and then they'd have to back off of it again. And it felt like this cyclical thing. Like, it was like, okay, is this the time where it's gonna, okay, nope, apparently that's not gonna be it. Is maybe this time? Nope, that's not it either. Oh, maybe this time? Nope, that's not it either. And it was just, I felt like it was the same thing happening over and over and over again. And I was just like, it's like he ran out of ideas for the book. Like, there were so many, like, I feel like you could have done with this, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't work. And then the plot holes. There were some plot holes in this book towards the end of the book about relating to the puppet. I can't talk about it. I'm not even gonna have a spoiler section, because there's really not that many spoilers in this, except for like the one twist, and I don't even know if I could explain it properly at this point. But there was just a weird plot hole at the end about relating to the puppet and like how the puppet works. And I'm like sitting there going, I don't understand this. Like, I really was bothered by that section of it. If you want to know what I'm talking about, I'll comment down below if you guys ask. But otherwise, yeah, if you know, you know. But yeah, that's all I can say about that. It was weird. That one little plot hole thing was very strange, and it threw me off. And then there's just other sections that just drag. Like, I feel like there were chapters that didn't have anything related to the horror, and like the brother told a story in the middle of the book, and it lasted like what felt like 100 of pages. It was probably only like 15 pages, less than that probably. But it felt like it lasted forever, and I was so bored while reading it. And it was just not for me. It was not for me. So that's kind of what I liked and what I didn't like. Much more dislikes, and it just didn't sit with me well. Like, I did not enjoy the reading experience of this, or probably would have gotten a 3, but I was so bored while reading it. I didn't like the evil in it. I didn't like pretty much anything other than what I stated that I did like. So big disappointment for me. I'm really nervous now for the next Grady Hendrix, because I'm 2 to 2 right now. 2 that I loved, 2 that I really didn't like. So yeah, I'm nervous. But supposedly the next one should be good, because I read Horror Store first, and I hated that one. Or no, sorry. I read Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires first, and I gave that 4-star. Then I read Horror Store DNF. Then I read Final Girl Support Group, 5-star. And then I read this, which is a 2-star. So technically the next one should be good. So I'm just gonna wait for his new book to come out and hope that it's really good. I don't know, I don't think he's released anything about it, but yeah, I'm still gonna pick it up. I'm still gonna read it because he's so hit or miss. I'm just curious if if I can figure out exactly why I'm so hit or miss with his books. But anyway, that's all I got for this. It was a bit of a rambling book review just because there's a lot of things in my head and I still don't fully understand my own thoughts and feelings about this book. So yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. If you liked this book, if you didn't, why you liked it, why you didn't like it, what you kind of want to see from Grady Hendrix in the future. If you liked other Grady Hendrix books, I would love to hear about that. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe for more book reviews and more content and more all the things. So that's all I got for you today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.